Welcome back to End Zone Gurus. I'm your host, Greg Prescott. It's that time again this year for our 2025 Fantasy Football Bold Predictions. Last year, I nailed the predictions on Jakobi Meyers will be wide receiver 1 in Las Vegas after Davante Adams is traded, possibly to Buffalo, by Jacoby Cheap in your upcoming draft. Despite having 10 wide receivers ranked ahead of him, Atlanta Falcons wide receiver Drake London will have a top 3 finish with between 150 and 175 targets and 10 plus touchdowns. Deep sleeper Darnell Mooney, currently ranked wide receiver 79, will finish with 900 yards and 8 touchdowns. Rookie Ladd McConkey will have 130 plus targets and will finish with 1,000 yards and 8 touchdowns. Age, usage, and injuries catch up to Christian McCaffrey, and his replacement, Jordan Mason, becomes a top 3 running back from that point forward. I see things before they happen. I can't explain why or how, or even when they come to me. For example, one of my best overall predictions was recorded on my New Year's Eve Global Predictions show in 2019, where I predicted that by the end of 2020, reality, as you know it, may be unrecognizable for many people. Ultimately, 1 year from now, you will not know reality as what you know it today. It's going to change to a point where it may be unrecognizable to many people. 1 year from now, that's it. And we all know what happened in 2020. And just a heads up, next season I'll be focusing on leagues that have 12 to 16 teams because there's not enough videos or content creators that do this. For example, try searching for 16-team draft advice or strategies. It's basically non-existent. I've been drafting in 14 and 16-team leagues for over 30 years, and it takes a whole new level of skill to prepare for these drafts, so stay tuned. But today, we're talking about fantasy football and my bold predictions for 2025, which will help everyone, no matter how many teams are in your league. So let's get started. Malik Nabers finishes as the overall wide receiver 1 in PPR leagues. Despite having subpar talent from the quarterback position in New York last year, while missing weeks 5 and 6 from a concussion suffered in week 4 against Dallas, Russell Wilson will start out the year as quarterback number 1 in New York. But if Jameis Winston or even rookie Jackson Dart takes over at quarterback, they will shower Nabers with 15 plus targets a game. More on Jackson Dart later on. J.J. McCarthy and Justin Fields finish as top 8 fantasy quarterbacks. McCarthy could technically be viewed as a rookie, as the 2024 top 10 pick missed the entire season last year because of a preseason injury to his meniscus, but he also had a full year to study Kevin O'Connell's playbook while learning the game from the NFL level. Last year, Sam Darnold threw for 4,319 yards and 35 touchdowns. I expect 33 touchdowns to match this production. McCarthy also ran a 4.48 40-yard dash at the combine and gives you that quarterback cheat code for sneaky rushing upside. Additionally, he faces Dallas indoors at Dallas, the Giants on the road, Detroit indoors at home, and a couple of potential shootouts during your fantasy football playoffs from weeks 15 through 17. As for Justin Fields, as a starter, he's consistently put up top 10 numbers or better, but is being drafted at the 15 quarterback overall? Does that make any sense to you? And here's the kicker. The Jets plan on using his size and rushing abilities this year with the tush push, potentially giving him Jalen Hurts type of production with likely over 10 touchdowns rushing this year. And let's not forget about his connection with Garrett Wilson, who was his college teammate for 1 year at Ohio State. So they already have that connection. The 49ers will be a top 5 defense this year. They're currently ranked around the middle of the pack, around 15 or so, and you can generally wait on them while other people are drafting Denver or Pittsburgh or other highly ranked defenses. Why will they be a top 5 defense? First, they brought back Robert Saleh as their defensive coordinator, whom George Kittle recently said has been not only firing up their defense, but the offense as well. Secondly, and most importantly, look at their playoff schedule during the fantasy football playoff weeks between 15 and 17. They start out against rookie Cam Ward and the Titans offense. Then they play Indianapolis and Chicago. They have arguably the easiest overall schedule in the NFL. And with the combination of Robert Saleh and their playoff schedule, you're getting a steal at this ADP. Now, if you ultimately had to wait until your last pick for a DST, you may actually consider the New Orleans Saints, who brought Brandon Staley in as their defensive coordinator. So you can expect a more aggressive, blitz-heavy defense. Plus, they also have one of the easiest schedules in the NFL and face Carolina, the Jets, and Tennessee during the fantasy playoff weeks of 15 through 17. My bold prediction for the Saints is to have a top 15 defense, which is a steal for the last pick of the draft. And this most likely pertains to managers who are in 14 to 16 team leagues. Trey McBride breaks Brock Bowers' single-season tight end reception record and finishes number 1 overall tight end in fantasy football. Not only that, he'll have between 8 to 10 touchdowns as well. Xavier Worthy becomes a top 12 wide receiver in PPR formats. Coach Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes are both on record for saying they're going to throw the ball downfield more this year. And after last year's Super Bowl performance, Worthy, the fastest man in the NFL, has shown that he's capable of big-time numbers under the spotlight. Plus, he'll be taking over the Tyreek Hill role on offense, which, as you remember, produced a season of nearly 1,500 receiving yards and 12 touchdowns. Let's not forget that Worthy also ran for 3 touchdowns last year. Additionally, there's talk of Worthy returning punts this year. So if you draft Worthy, you may also want to consider drafting a solid KC DST and get double points if Worthy goes to the house on punt returns. Dante Thornton, who was drafted 108th overall in the 4th round in the 2025 NFL Draft, finishes as a top 25 wide receiver as the Raiders' wide receiver 2, ahead of Jack Beck, who was selected as the 58th overall pick in the 2nd round of the 2025 NFL Draft. Thornton is 6'5" and ran a 4.340 while averaging 25.4 yards per catch last year, and will vastly outperform his current 240 ADP. With 800 receiving yards and 9 touchdowns in offensive coordinator Chip Kelly's offense. Michael Penix Jr. is a top 12 fantasy quarterback. Drake London finishes as one of the top 3 wide receivers in PPR scoring. Atlanta has an easy schedule this year, along with a lower tier defense, which creates a high volume passing script for Penix and London. Roschon Johnson becomes the top 25 running back in Chicago. Johnson will be playing the David Montgomery role for the Bears, so look for similar production of 700 to 800 yards and around 10 touchdowns this year, making his current ADP of 160 a steal in your draft. If you're using the hero or zero running back strategy, then Johnson is your man. Staying in Chicago, DeAndre Swift thrives in Ben Johnson's Jahmyr Gibbs-like role and finishes in the top 15 overall running backs in PPR, with over 1,100 yards rushing and at least 7 to 10 touchdowns. If he stays healthy for the full season, De'Von Achane finishes as the number 1 overall running back. As you know, Jonnu Smith is no longer in Miami, and Tua is on record for saying he needs to be getting the ball out quicker, which means even more receptions for Achane, who could be RB1 overall this year, especially with Raheem Mostert out of the picture. Now, when I wrote this, it was before he had that soft tissue calf injury, so temper your expectations on this one. Brian Thomas Jr. drops to wide receiver number 15 overall. Check out my video. Brian Thomas Jr. will be a fantasy bust. Draft Drake London instead. The main reason for this is baked into the numbers. Look at Brian Thomas's stats last year when Trevor Lawrence was quarterback versus Mac Jones. It's like day and night. Mac Jones fed Thomas while Lawrence didn't. Thomas will put up decent numbers in Liam Cohen's offense, but he won't be a top 10 receiver this year. Breece Hall is traded to Dallas and leads the Cowboys to a divisional title. And in New York, Braylon Allen takes over as the lead running back and scores 10-plus touchdowns. Dylan Sampson becomes Cleveland's RB1 and a top 20 overall running back. This prediction needs a little magic behind it for Sampson to pass forward while Quinshon Judkins remains unsigned. In many leagues, you can still get Sampson as one of your last picks as he smashes his ADP and either helps you in hero or zero running back strategies or gives you a valuable running back to trade for other positions once he takes over the RB1 in Cleveland. Ricky Pearsall becomes a top 15 wide receiver with San Francisco. For this prediction to come true, he and his hamstring need to stay healthy this year, but the Niners invested first-round capital in Pearsall. And with all the drama in the San Francisco wide receiver room, I believe that Pearsall comes out on top. Omarion Hampton becomes a top 15 running back with the Chargers. I made this prediction before Najee Harris's fireworks mishap and stand by it. If you're in a dynasty league, you could feasibly have both Ashton Genty and Omarion Hampton anchoring your team. Harris is on a 1-year contract, and Hampton will most likely take over the workhorse role next year, or possibly this year before the fantasy playoffs during weeks 15 through 17. Ollie Gordon scores more than 10 touchdowns. Gordon had a fantastic preseason and usurped Jalen Wright as the number 2 running back in Miami. With De'Von Achane dealing with soft tissue injuries and his inability to score inside the 5, Gordon might come close to replicating Raheem Mostert's role as a touchdown vulture when he ran for over 1,000 yards and 18 touchdowns in 2023. Jackson Dart makes his first start in Week 5 against the Saints and never looks back after the Giants start out 0-4. Not only that, he wins Rookie of the Year award in his 13 games, he throws for over 3,000 yards and 22 touchdowns while rushing for an additional 700 yards and 4 rushing touchdowns. If he's on your waiver wire, grab him now. And if you're in a dynasty league, make sure he's on your team. Juju Smith-Schuster will perform admirably while replacing Rashee Rice's 6-game suspension. Last year, the week after Rice got injured, Juju had 7 receptions for 130 yards, but subsequently pulled his hamstring the following week. This year, he spent the offseason doing two-a-days, and head coach Andy Reid said that Juju looks like he's in the best shape ever since joining the Chiefs. Now, he's not going to give you Rashee Rice's numbers, but he's probably on every waiver wire right now. But he won't be after Week 1. Juju should be good for 5 to 7 receptions for each of the first 6 games, and 3 to 4 touchdowns as well. If you drafted Rice, be sure you have Juju on your team. And even if you didn't draft Rice, don't wait until after Week 1 because he won't be there in Week 2. You probably won't find a better waiver wire pickup before the start of the season better than Juju. That's going to do it for this year's predictions. It'll be fun looking back at the end of the year to see how accurate they are or aren't. Hope you enjoyed this show. Please like, share, and subscribe for more incredible content. And remember, next year we're going to be focusing on 14 and 16 team leagues. So if you're looking for fantasy draft advice, you've come to the right place. Until the next time, good luck with your drafts, and let me know how your draft went in the comments section.